ihtiyaç olduğu anlaşılacak. Çünkü o kadar argo, o kadar küfürlü, o kadar kalabalık ve o kadar tek sesli ki şu anda dünya. Yani daha çok erkek sesi duyuluyor. Gel buraya. Dolayısıyla dünyanın aslında empatiye ihtiyacı var. Ve dürüst olmaya ihtiyacı var.
Teşekkür ederim. Benim yapmam gereken bir şey kalmadı değil mi?
Her yerinde tanınacak eşit haklara ve eşit fırsatlara ihtiyaç var öncelikle. Daha sonra kadına yönelik şiddetin sonlandırılmasına ihtiyaç var. Çocuk yaşlı evliliklerin bitmesine ihtiyacımız var. Cinsiyet eşitsizliğinin ve toplumsal cinsiyetle dayalı kalıpsal yargıların bitmesine ihtiyacımız var.
Mesaj vermeyi hiç sevmiyorum ama bir dileğimi söyleyebilirim. Ben kadın örgütlenmesini her şeyin üstünde tutuyorum. Yani önce kadınlar birbiriyle örgütlenmeli, önce kadınlar dayanışmalı ki bir diğeri mağdur olurken korkmamalı. Yani yanı başında bir kadın olduğunu bilmeli, yalnız olmadığını bilmeli ve daha gür çıkmalı sesimiz. Daha çok cesur olmamızı diliyorum her alanda ve daha çok örgütlenmeyi.
Kadına yönelik şiddet sadece fiziksel şiddetten oluşmuyor. Ekonomik, psikolojik, flört şiddeti gibi birçok şiddet türüne maruz kalıyorlar kadınlar. Değişimi önce kendinizden ve sonra çevrenizden başlatın ki kadına yönelik şiddet sonlansın. Bir günümüz değil, her günümüz kutlu olsun.
Onun pilot uygulaması vardı. Sizi de ona davet etmiştik ama tabii bu etkinlik yoğunluğu.
Değil mi o?
Pilotu yaptık ama sizin için
Bizim
ayrıca
yapacaksınız.
Aynen.
Tamam. Doğru, hatırladım şimdi.
Sanırım bilim bir haftası diye konuşuldu. Yani
Evet,
görmenizi
olur,
çok
olsa
isteriz
gerek.
çünkü inanılmaz iyi tepkiler oldu.
Evet, bu duyuru Türkçe. Kıymetli meslektaşlarıma basın mensuplarının yerini alabilirsek programı başlatmadan önce çok teşekkür ederiz desteğiniz için. Okay, this is exciting.
Heyecanlıyız. Her geri sayım heyecanlıdır. Son 12 yıl içerisinde 1 milyar insan dünya nüfusuna eklendi. Ve bu saat, bu geri sayım işlemeye başladı. İşte 8 milyar olduk. Tünaydınlar. Bu geri sayımdan da hepimizin gördüğü gibi şu an itibariyle artık gezegenimiz üstünde 8 milyar gücüz. Son derece önemli bir eşik noktasındayız. İnsanlık için, ailemiz için son derece önemli. Zaten bu etkinliğin başından da anlayacağınız gibi aslında bu 8 milyar sonsuz olasılıklar dünyasının da önünü açtı bizim için. Çok teşekkür ederiz geldiğiniz için. Ben Afşin, hoş geldiniz ve bu anı beraber tanıklık etmekten, bu etkinliği
Türkiye for bringing us together today. Distinguished guests, the United Nations Population Fund announced for the first time this year on World Population Day that the global population is expected to reach 8 billion on this very day. And indeed, 8 billion is much more than a number. It's a story of triumph. Just take a look at what we have achieved so far. Poverty has declined. Advancements in health have extended lifespans, and thanks to technology, we're more connected than ever. Yet that being said, we have a long way to go to make sure that we improve the lives for all around the globe. The climate crisis is deepening existing inequalities across the world. Wars and migration continue to threaten peace and stability. Around the world, nearly half of the women and girls are not able to make decisions over their own bodies and their futures, and violence against women and girls remain a global pandemic. At this critical moment, the UNFPA makes a call, reminds us that 8 billion brings us a diverse set of challenges and opportunities, and issues an important call, which I will share now. By developing people-centered policies, countries can ensure their societies are resilient amid demographic changes. Instead of focusing just on numbers and figures, we need to ensure quality of life for each individual living on planet Earth in all their diversity. And the reproductive health and rights of women and girls are key to ensure societies thrive amid a demographic change. Our hashtag today is 8 billion strong, or 8 milyon gücüz in Turkish. For those who are unable to join us in person today, we are live on UNFPA Turkey's YouTube feed. You can also watch a recording of the event later this evening in Turkish and in English. We have a packed program ahead of us this afternoon with opening speeches, presentations, interesting data that I truly hope will keep you thinking even after this event is over, and a panel discussion. But before we begin, I also want to take a moment to reflect on a terrible tragedy. On Sunday, a bomb attack took the lives of innocent civilians and wounded dozens at the heart of Istanbul. On behalf of myself and organizers of this event, I want to express our heartfelt condolences to all of Turkey and condemn violence in all forms. Our thoughts are with the families of the victims, and we also wish a speedy recovery to those wounded. As we set out to discuss what a world of 8 billion means today, we hope it means peace and stability and security, first and foremost. We will now bring a video prepared by the very able UNFPA team. The Day of 8 Billion. We'll play it now. Wow, that was definitely stimulating. The drums, for some reason I heard a lot of urgency to take action. I guess it's the mindset that I'm in right now, and the drums made me feel like, okay, here's the urgency of the moment. Let's go and tackle the challenge. So I'll now yield the floor to our speakers for their opening speeches. And we then will continue with the rest of our program. First, Ambassador of Netherlands to Turkey, Joep Wijnands, thank you for hosting us. The floor is yours. We'll begin with you.
Merhaba, hoş geldiniz. Excellencies, we have the ambassadors here today of Australia, South Korea, Denmark and Luxembourg. Deputy Director General Mrs. Tülay Baydar Bilgehan of the Ministry of Interior. Thank you for being with us. UNFPA Turkey representative Mr. Hasan Motashami. Welcome, of course. Welcome to all the representatives of many other ministries, organizations, NGOs, and members of the press. Thank you very much for coming. Dear friends, before I say anything else, let me too express my deepest condolences to all who lost loved ones in the terrorist attack in Istanbul on Sunday, and to the people of Turkey. And I too also wish a speedy recovery to those injured. And let me emphasize that in these difficult times, the Netherlands stands united with our partner and ally, Turkey. Today, with this event, UNFPA and the Netherlands Embassy want to mark the day of 8 billion and the infinite possibilities we have to build a better world. A world where each pregnancy is wanted, each birth is safe, each young person is free from sexually transmitted diseases, and each woman is treated with respect and dignity. Currently, with 1 out of 3 women dealing with gender-based violence in their lifetime, obviously we are far from that better world. To be able to change this, we need to get on track when it comes to realizing gender equality and universal access to sexual and reproductive health and rights, the so-called SRHR. SRHR is essential in helping young people make informed choices about their health and lives. Choices about whether, and if so when, they want to have children, and how big they want their families to be. Choices that can drastically change the course of their lives, their children's lives, and lives of societies as a whole. Gender equality and SRHR are also key conditions for sustainable development. For this reason, the Netherlands is strongly committed to protect and promote universal access to sexual and reproductive health and rights. We do this by investing around 500 million euros a year to help strengthen health systems, prevent infant and maternal mortality, and improve access to SRHR around the world. We also try to foster dialogue between women and government authorities on sensitive subjects like sex education, sexual rights, and abortion through international networks like She Decides. All of this is only possible in partnership with civil society organizations and crucial partners like UNFPA. The Netherlands is a strong supporter of UNFPA worldwide, and we are very pleased with the cooperation with UNFPA Türkiye. So let me thank you and your team and all the partners for the shared efforts to build that better world and for organizing this event. We are proud to host it here in the Dutch residence. So I'm looking forward to the other contributions. I'm looking forward to lively panel discussion. I'm also looking forward to the organization leaving this big screen here during the World Cup. But thank you very much for being here, and again, I hope for a very fruitful discussion. Thanks a lot. Teşekkür.
Thank you, Ambassador. I think I should say it's very gezellig to be here. So thank you for having us. Thank you. Our other host today, UNFPA Türkiye representative, Mr. Hasan Muhteşemi. Wonderful to see you. As always, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon. Günaydın. Thank you so very much for being here today with us. Çok teşekkürler. I recognize the presence of the government officials. Thank you very much from Ministry of Interior, from Turkistat and other government institutions. Thank you for being with us today in this function. I recognize the presence of high-powered ambassadors here. I thank you so very much for being with us, Excellencies, and participating in this discussion. I also recognize my fellow UN colleagues who are blessing this function and being with us today in this, and also all the partners and academia and other partners that are with us today. And thank you for all of you, and media people. Thank you for being with us today. Today is an important day. I think media will have a lot of points to cover. So thanks to be with us today. The problem with Afshin to be moderator is that she's an outstanding journalist, so she covers everything. So there is nothing else for us to say at the speak. But anyhow, let me just also appreciate our partnership with the Dutch embassy here. Netherlands has been a staunch supporter of UNFPA mandate globally and in Turkey, and we are extremely proud of this partnership. We cherish that, and thank you for hosting us today at your own home. We really appreciate that. At the start also, I would like to highlight the point that was raised by others as well. We convey our deepest condolences for the terrorist attack that happened and the casualties out of that. We wish speedy recovery for the injured, and really an interesting point made by moderator that the 8 billion possibilities also should come with peace and security, and that's the element that we should all highlight every now and then. Today we are 8 billion on planet. If it was 30, 40 years ago, people would have started shouting an alarmist context, oh, we are overpopulation, explosion, population explosion, and the like. Today is a different world. We have a different context in different parts of the world. We have some parts of the world growing population-wise fast, like Africa, and there are other parts of the world that actually fertility has declined significantly, like in East Asia or parts of Europe. And it's a mixed world now in terms of population dynamics. So the main point at this juncture is that we should not agree with the alarmist points. Neither we are facing disastrous overpopulation, nor we should expect decreasing significantly the population and losing all the momentum. The whole point about the alarmist approach is that they ignore one basic element, and that's the centrality of human rights at the core of this discourse. It's not about the numbers. 8 billion, yes, it is a number, and we should continue counting. Turkestat is here. We are doing counting everywhere in the world, census and the like of it. Counting should be continued, but the issue is not about the numbers. Each and every single one of these 8 billion is a human being with a set of rights that we all cherish and has agreed and signed up. And we need to look into the rights of each and every single individual. The past has been a very successful story. We have, as highlighted, we have reduced the infant mortality significantly during last few decades. Less kids are dying because of just communicable disease or preventable diseases. We have reduced significantly maternal mortality. We have taken out of poverty millions of people. Millions of people are no longer under the poverty line. And a lot of other achievements during last few decades, as can be highlighted again and again. But the challenges are still the same as 11 years ago when we announced the word of 7 billion in 2011. The challenges are the same. Climate change is serious in the corner. We all are facing it, and we need to address it. Poverty is still, there are pockets of poverty around the world. Inequality within the societies, within the countries, and between the countries is still an issue at hand. Food security and some other global topics that I don't want to dwell on that. So the challenges are there, but there are reasons to also celebrate and appreciate the human's achievement. In that context, I want to highlight a very important point in this context. Population demographic trends are based on the three factors, simple: mortality, fertility, and migration. These three work hand in hand and determine the dynamics of any country, any society's population size growing or reducing or something like that. What we want to highlight at this point is that irrespective of the population dynamic of any given country or context, the rights of women to have full control over their fertility and make decisions about their own body and their own fertility should be respected. Yes, there are countries that are facing serious aging challenge, serious low fertility in parts of the world, serious population decline. That's happening in parts of the world. And there are countries that still are facing high fertility, high population growth. I've repeatedly said that, and I hope this message can get across all stakeholders in this field, irrespective of the population policy of the country, whether we want to have high fertility or low fertility, the rights of women to choose, to have control over their fertility, the number of children that they wish to have, should be respected. I'm pretty sure nobody remembers 40s, 50s, 60s, but you might have read about those hypes of overpopulation and so on. You have heard about policies then one child or two children is enough, and forcing women to avoid any choice on their own. That should not be turned into, in a low fertility context, infringement of the rights of women that they may not wish to have so many children. This is purely a woman's choice. Not a single stakeholder can enforce on a woman to have 1 or 2 or 10 children. This is her choice. And that's why sexual and reproductive health in the context of population dynamic, the second one I mentioned, fertility, determinant of the demographic trends, is that much essential to take into consideration. And we count on the support from the member states in the United Nations system. We count on the support of the host countries. We count on the support of the NGOs, media, academia, and the others to get this point across. 8 billion is not about the numbers, it's about possibilities and rights of each and every single individual. Let's make sure each and every single woman and girl have access to information and services on sexual and reproductive health and rights. This is UN Agency on Sexual and Reproductive Health talking. Thank you so very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Muhtashami, for your address. You might have seen it in the headlines today that across the globe, the fact that we're now 8 billion on the planet is celebrated, and it is in that spirit that ambassadors of various different countries resident in Ankara have prepared a video to mark this important milestone. We'll now play that.
The world's population is expected to reach 8 billion. It's now double what it was when I was a child. And it will, of course, continue to grow. But this shouldn't worry us. We can do anything together. As the world's population increases, the importance of us working together to ensure a sustainable future increases. A key part of this will be ensuring sexual and reproductive health and rights for all, and investing in people to make societies more resilient in the context of demographic change. UNFPA are playing a valuable role in this issue and helping to remind us that as we mark the day of 8 billion, we should also be marking a world of infinite possibilities.
Reaching the 8 billion people threshold is not just a milestone for humanity. We believe it is a stimulus towards a fundamental rethinking of our actions and our ambitions for the future. Let's focus on our ultimate goal. We are 8 billion opportunities, 8 billion hopes, 8 billion perspectives.
The global village has become big. For every person on the planet, for decent living, fruitful cooperation is essential. Germany is ready to contribute. We are actively working on sustainable answers to the challenges ahead.
Now we are living in the world of 8 billion people. Yes, it's a huge number and a big challenge to us. However, we can make a better future together with 8 billion ideas and 8 billion corporations.
Phil believes that all the 8 billion people in this planet can live good lives when we invest in education and healthcare, when we ensure access to sexual and reproductive healthcare, and when ensure the sexual and reproductive rights of all individuals. All the 8 billion people in this planet can live good lives when us who work in governments understand and anticipate demographic trends so that we can make good policies and informed decisions based on scientific evidence. We all need to have access to services and we all need the opportunities to live good lives.
Today, there are 8 billion of us here on planet Earth. Although daunting at first, this major milestone is also a reminder to all of us to work tirelessly together to improve education, healthcare, and access to sexual and reproductive rights and health, so that each and every one of us can have a good quality of life. And here, Denmark is obviously fully committed to work with international partners to achieve just that.
As we reach a population of 8 billion people on planet Earth, many things come to mind that are so essential to us with regards to the quality of life and happiness of these individuals. But one that is so important for all of us is the sexual and reproductive rights of women. These rights are often under threat, and we should all work to defend them at all costs.
For every one of these 8 billion, including the world's largest ever cohort of young people, it is critical that we invest in their health and education. We also need to ensure that everyone is able to realise their right to quality sexual and reproductive services. Australia is proud to be a long-standing supporter of UNFPA's critical work across the world.
Everybody has the right to choose when it comes to relationships, sex and family planning, especially women and girls. And to promote this freedom of choice, the Netherlands, all over the world, works together with UNFPA, including in Turkey.
İnsan oğlu için ihtimale sonsuzdur. Daha iyi bir gelecek için güçlerimizi birleştirelim.
Yes, many thanks to all ambassadors and diplomatic representatives who contributed to this video with their messages to celebrate 8 billion. There's a slight change to the program today. Normally we would have our special guest and UNFPA honorary ambassador, actress Hazal Kaya, with us. Unfortunately, she won't be able to join us. She sends her apologies for not being able to make it happen. She's very shaken by the attack in Istanbul, and she's also expecting. Quite understandably, she is doing her best to avoid risky travel situations. She sends her regards, and we also send her our love. I guess she's watching on YouTube, so this message goes to Hazal Kaya in Istanbul. Up next, some good numbers and figures for us to ponder. Dr. Gökhan Yıldırım Kaya is with us here. He's approaching. He is UNFPA's SRH and Population Dynamics Program Coordinator, and he has in that blue file that he is holding, he has fascinating data on what a world of 8 billion means for people and the planet. Really important and valuable data as good policy cannot happen without good data. So we're going to have Dr. Yildirim Kaya to hear from you. The floor is yours. Please come.
Esteemed guests, first of all, good afternoon, and in advance, thanks for your kind understanding, because Avşin Hasan Bey highlighted that we will not focus on figures this afternoon. Let me shake a little bit the figures, then throw the ball our young panelists to march beyond the figures. It will be a quick startup for them. Yes, it's how we reached or arrived to this day. That's the question of the day. Yes, we know that it took hundreds of thousands of years for the world population to grow the first 1 billion. Then for the second 1 billion, it took also 2 years, and it went up. Only during the history, during the dark plague days, infection days, the number of the population decreased all over the world. It was mid of the 14th century. And beyond this reality, there was a regular increase in the population of the world. But the dramatic growth has been driven largely, as Hasan Bey highlighted, by increasing numbers of people surviving at the age of reproductive age, and has been accompanied apparent change in fertility rates, urbanization, and accelerating migration. On the contrary, in a growing number of countries, population decline is not a temporary phenomenon, but a new reality. And in the figure, the number of the countries actively facing population decline will grow. For example, in 1 minute, now we know that 156 new individual attending this beautiful world. The majority of population growth from the 7 to 8 billion in 11 years occurred in lower and middle income countries. 75% of them was within this group, and with only 25%, about 250 million was in upper middle income and high income countries. Half of the people made up this increase from 7 to 8 billion were in Asia and Africa. Africa made the second largest contribution, almost 400 million, and India was by far the largest contribution. It was almost 177 million, followed by China and Nigeria. But on the contrary, for example, Nigeria will be the third most populated country in a near future, and it will change the dynamics. Also this year, China's population will reach its peak and then start the population figures to decline in China. Its contribution to the next billion will be not positive. It will be in a negative manner. There are 17 countries today to have a smaller population than population in the 90s. All are in Eastern Europe. Europe's contribution to population growth in the coming future is projected being negative. The pace of world population growth has been declined since 1990s and dropping below 1% for the first time in 2020. But the world's population will continue to grow up until by the end of this century. It's estimated to peak at 1.4 million in 2080s till by the end of the century. And the next billion expected to take approximately 14.5 millions when we compared the last period with 11 years. As Asia and Africa is expected to drive next billion, while Europe's contribution will be negative due to the declining population. More than half of projected increase the global population up to 2050 will be concentrated in 17 countries. or 70% of the population will be covered in total 20 countries in the world. The Democratic Republic of the Congo, Egypt, Ethiopia, India, Nigeria, Pakistan, and the Philippines and Tanzania, countries of sub-Saharan Africa, are expected to contribute more than half of the increase anticipated through 2050. Of the next billion of the people, 920 million will live in lower middle income and low income countries. More than 4 million will be 65 years and older, and 150 million will be between 15 and 97, and population of the children aged of 14 and younger will be declining and contributing negatively. Another example, for example, the median age of the world now it's only 31. But there are some countries, the median age of beyond the 50s, 54, and some countries are 17. For example, Democratic Republic of Congo, the median age is 17, but it's for Monaco is 54. And this wave, this angle, is very meaningful for the expectations. This is a remarkable milestone. Today is a remarkable milestone. Increased life expectancy and declining infant and mortality means more humans are alive than ever before. At the same time, the seismic shifts in demography, technology, education, social norms and issues as climate change or conflicts or HIV/AIDS or COVID-19 pandemics. Yes, this is not a pessimist scenario. It's a story of hope, imagination, innovation, and tenacity. Let's now take the 8 and flip the numeral 8 on its side, left or right. It doesn't has any importance. And we will have the symbol for infinity. By protecting individual rights, especially rights of women and young people and children, we can unlock the unlimited potential of people and to address the challenge we face. Beyond the numbers, let's march to the rights. Thank you.
I wish Dr. Yıldırımkaya left some of his data here so that I could take it home, because it was very interesting. Thank you very much, Redi. I think it draws an interesting picture of what 8 billion means for different regions, different societies, what opportunities and challenges it brings to us. That's why we're now going to put those numbers in context and have a conversation about what it means to live in the world now with 8 billion people in different countries, with median age being different from one another, effects of climate change, poverty, discrimination, violence affecting different societies in different ways, but there are also opportunities for us to think together and tackle those issues. So putting those numbers in context is what we want to do at the panel discussion now. I would like to now invite two brilliant minds, two powerhouses. I really mean it. You're going to know what I mean when you meet them now, to the stage for what I know is going to be an inspiring conversation and a robust brainstorming session. İlayda Işık, Human Rights Advocate and Young Innovator Fellow at UNFPA's Regional Office. İlayda Işık, welcome. And İlayda Eskitaşçıoğlu, UN Young Leader for Sustainable Development Goals, doctoral candidate at Koç University and co-founder of We Need to Talk. We Need to Talk. İlayda Eskitaşçıoğlu, let's have you here too. Thank you for being here. I'm just going to take the other seat. No, I just say okay, it's fine. It's fine with me. Is my mic working? Is the mic working? Okay, awesome. So welcome. Really good to have you. All right,
how many Turkish speakers do we have? I really feel like cracking a joke, but I don't know if everyone is aware of the context. Turkish speakers or no? Okay, anyhow, so you all know that when you find yourself in the middle of two namesakes, they're both named İlayda, and in a world of 8 billion, that's quite interesting because it's not a very common name either. The joke goes that if you find yourself in the middle of two namesakes, you make a wish. So you have your opportunity.
If you want.
And it is generally believed, the folk culture says that it comes through. So anyhow, welcome. Really great to have you. Like I said, we want to put those numbers into context, but first I want to get your reactions, what living in a world of 8 billion means for you individually, İlayda Işık and then İlayda Eskitaşçıoğlu.
Yeah. Thank you, Afshin. Actually, speaking here today means a lot to me because as a young person who has been working in civil society for many years and also has been working as a young innovator fellow at UNFPA, I've taught and I still continue to think a lot about the value, potential, and power of human being. And I believe that we are the most intelligent creatures on earth. Yeah. And we are the only beings that can foresee the future, design new things, imagine, dream, and be the pioneers of change. So, but somehow as a society we favor the perspective that the increasing population is a threat. But I believe that the truth is we now have 8 billion different pillars of creativity, and this is an amazing opportunity actually. So I think today we should discuss how we can use this opportunity for our world.
8 billion different pillars of creativity.
Yeah.
What a creative way of putting it. I really like it.
Yeah.
And I see you all nodding. I think you do too. Thank you for that, İlayda. And we're going to see what kind of world and future we can build on those 8 billion pillars. I wonder what İlayda Eskitaşçıoğlu thinks.
Thank you so much, Afshin. It's truly wonderful to be here, and I hope your wishes and our audience's wishes come true. Truly. I've been thinking a lot and hard ever since UNFPA launched the countdown, actually. Went through an emotional roller coaster, as I previously shared, freaked out a little, but I really love this little mental exercise that we're doing. We're flipping the 8 and we find ourselves looking at infinity, infinite possibilities, unlimited potential, which is great, but and really raising hopes for me. We have to embrace hope, especially after the horrible attack that we've experienced. We have to embrace hope. But I also know while we're talking about infinite possibilities, we're not hopping onto a train of thoughts where we have this old Hollywood-style optimism. You can do anything. There are infinite possibilities. If you follow your dreams, anything is possible. No, we're not there. But there are a lot of possibilities. As a zillennial, I know how ridiculous it sounds, but apparently it's how you call my generation, a millennial who's closer to age to Gen Z. I'm very sorry. Yeah, as a zillennial, it makes me feel like we have a sometimes intimidating and long to-do list and a lot of work to do. I feel motivated, and I think we really need to focus on how we can make individuals' lives better. A very wise woman once told me that statistics are head counts or numbers without tears, laughter, or stories. We should not forget that we're talking about individuals here, and we really need to work hard to make sure every individual has a quality of life where they can enjoy their rights fully. To put it very short, I'm in my student set of mind, which I am. I'm a procrastinating, coffee-loving PhD student. And I tell myself, hey, this is not a pass or fail exam, it's a learning experience, so you better put yourself a nice cup of coffee and get to work.
Right. You said it was an intimidating list. I wonder why you think it's intimidating. It is intimidating for you, or it's intimidating for the 8 billion?
Collectively, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the world doesn't end in 2030, but for sustainable folks like me, there's a deadline that is approaching, and we have a lot to do. We had the COVID-19, which was a huge setback. So I'm just a little intimidated by the length of the to-do list, but I really believe in our potential. We can definitely make a change.
Thank you for the hopeful message, at least, because when you said intimidating, for a moment I thought, yes, it's kind of intimidating. But anyhow, let's now see, like Ilayda was saying, 8 billion pillars of creativity and what we can do. There's so much that we can talk about when it comes to addressing challenges, and I think that the mic is echoing. I'm not sure if it's me, but just so our tech team knows about it. And since I have both of you on the stage and have the opportunity to learn from you both, I don't know which challenge to start with, because 8 billion is, yes, opportunities, and we should think of it that way, but we also have colossal issues that we need to just tackle together. And I mean, it's not, it's not like, nice talk when you say collectively tackling it. It's impossible for one nation, one society, one region to really take action to resolve those. I'd like to start with climate crisis, because it's exacerbating all the inequalities that we have been addressing ever since the beginning of this program. And we also have a deadline for it. And it's one big challenge for the globe that you just can't do on your own. It requires collective action. Whether we like it or not, it does. And this we need to do at a time of disinformation, post-truth, deniers of science, and all of that, right? So I'm curious, from your perspective, how can we collectively address this big challenge ahead of humanity? As 8 billion, how can we just really, hand in hand, shoulder to shoulder, come up with ideas to really push forward with a positive agenda there? So Ilayda first, and then Ilayda next.
Okay. Yeah, it's a difficult question, actually. And of course, we have to provide healthy conditions for people to fulfill their potential in a new world of 8 billion people. Because the increasing population can bring with it climate crisis, dangers of violence, and types of discrimination. And the climate crisis and disproportionate use of natural sources are causing inequalities. And climate change especially has a significant impact on economical inequalities, unsustainability, and underdevelopment. So for this reason, I think before we talk about the equality in the world, first we have to do deep research and provide some comprehensive trainings on how we can overcome the climate change issues. And in particular, I think that governments should work on how to adapt their current policies to society. But I know that climate area is Ilayda's area mostly, so I guess Ilayda will have more to say about this policies and these practices.
But I'm very sorry, I want to turn to you, but on the very note that you said, Ilayda's field, yes, but we have to really develop interdisciplinary thinking. Every field has experience and perspective to bring to the table, which is why conversations such as these and platforms such as these matter a lot. So whatever Ilayda Eskitaşoğlu wants to add on, other Ilayda's words.
Other Ilayda's words. Ilayda, I really loved your point and how you kind of connect the discussions around inequality with the climate crisis, which we cannot think as separate topics alienated from each other. But yeah, a few thoughts that I had in my mind is whenever we're discussing the correlation between this beautiful pinkish, purplish 8 and the climate crisis, of course, the two words that pop up is overconsumption and overpopulation. But I think it's time for us to stop putting the blame on this growth. It is going to happen. Our chaotic big family is growing day by day. But we need to focus on what we need to work on. It is climate crisis, it is disproportionate use of resources, but also a lot of privileged multinational corporations who are promoting sustainability in very well-designed, very good-looking sustainability reports, but who are also shadowing some very problematic practices in their value chains and their supply chains in other parts of the world, and ignoring some very serious human rights violations which they would never dare to do so in their home states. We need to talk about this as well. I mean, I'm with lovely people in this room, but it's a tough talk, and we need to be able to have honest conversations around these, in my opinion. We need to talk about the rising phenomenon of climate refugees and migrants, and deep poverty and discrimination, those who are excluded, the chairs that are empty because the representatives, the actual affected communities, could not find an opportunity to be there. And as I said, the 2030 deadline is approaching. Of course, we have future ahead. We have a lot of more work to do. But yeah, 2030 is important for us. We have the Sustainable Development Goals. I've said it 1,000 times and I will say it more. Do I believe world hunger will perish from the world miraculously by 2030? Or we will have ultimate gender equality in Türkiye by 2030? No, of course not. But I truly believe we can significantly reduce the problems. We can give a better heritage and a better environment to work with, to work on for Generation Alpha. I think they're the newcomers after Gen Z. And we can make a significant impact. Right now in Egypt, in Sharm el-Sheikh, COP27 is happening, the climate conference. And we're following news from Egypt with high hopes, but with a lot of deep disappointments as well, because we've seen the same mistakes are happening again and again. We're restraining the resources of small cities with enormous conferences. And we're also seeing a lot of world leaders and business people arriving to a climate conference on their private jets. I double-checked this. Unfortunately, it is true. And I feel like as young people, we're being a bit repetitive with our anger and our angry remarks. So it's really time to not stop talking, but actually taking action and starting to talk about solutions instead of barriers and problems. I don't think we have a visibility problem when it comes to climate crisis. We all know about it. We have started talking about it. But the solution is lacking in my opinion.
But why is that? Is it the typical old habits die hard kind of situation, or is it just nice and comforting to hear it, but when it comes to taking action, we roll our eyes? What is it?
I think it's a combination of both, but the second would be, I think, the dominant answer. It is not easy to transform systems. And by the way, do not mind me, I'm making some angry remarks, but I know it takes years and a lot of time and effort and a lot of investment. And courageous decisions by business leaders to truly transform systems. I know it won't be easy, but I'm just saying we have talked enough. Let's keep talking, but let's also see action. So I think young people are disappointed in that way. I think we're quite happy with the way climate change, climate crisis is visible and it is being talked, and I think our voice is heard. Our voices are amplified, but there needs to be more than talking. I'm just looking through my notes, like a few questions that we need to ask ourselves, in my opinion. Among the very exciting huge budgets that were committed, for example, in last year in Glasgow by governments and corporations, I'm wondering what percentage actually reached out to young people or grassroots eco-feminist organizations or indigenous communities? That part is quite non-transparent for me. Or is gender mainstreaming successfully conducted in climate chambers and in climate environments? I'm just wondering if we will be able to get answers about this from Sharm el-Sheikh. It doesn't look great, but we still have our high hopes raised. Let's put it that way.
Ilaide, thank you also for pointing out what is not transparent.
Yeah.
And saying that, yes, youth is angry. I think it's the kind of, I mean, there's anger and there's anger. What I mean by that is that there's also constructive anger, or at least that's the way I see it. And I don't see it as anger that's like just projected out there for no real tangible outcome, but it's a constructive kind of anger, the catalyzer. Yeah. At least that's the way I hear it. So I really do hope that it pushes decision makers to take action. So we spoke a lot about why we should see beyond numbers, beyond facts and figures, and see 8 billion as 8 billion opportunities. I want to focus on that now for the second part of our conversation, which is basically how can we actually do it? 8 billion opportunities. We know we're not there, but we also know that we can get there if we're really serious about it. So I'm curious, how can we get there, in your opinion, especially keeping in mind vulnerable groups have difficulty in access to opportunities when it comes to social protections and all the issues that we have discussed so far. I'm curious how you think it is possible to ensure equal rights and opportunities for all, and especially for vulnerable groups. What it means for 8 billion, a world of 8 billion, providing those to vulnerable groups especially. What does that mean for you, Ilayda Işık, and then
thank you,
back to you.
Yeah, actually, as I said before, I believe that we are the most intelligent creatures on Earth. But the question we must ask here is intelligence enough to bring 8 billion people to a good world? My answer is no. We also need wisdom. Because I think that people can be pioneers of real change, not only with their intelligence, but with their wisdom. And we can create wisdom through 1, good education, 2, sustainable management of technology and innovation, and finally, finding a common ground in values. In other words, development and transformation can only be made possible by adopting a value perception that puts people, the humanity first, instilling these values with education at every stage and in every age group, and using technological opportunities in line with these values. Only then will human creativity and wisdom merge, and the world can become a real home for 8 billion people. So, what do I mean by humanity-oriented value? Throughout history, as we all know, we have seen countless wars and ever-increasing polarizations, and we have seen nature devastated by and for technology, and we have seen hunger and misery. That's why we, as world societies, are so disconnected from each other, and each of us has become the other's other. But I think now it's time for us to make peace. Now it's time for us to learn to be a single and huge 8 billion family. When you manage to be part of the same family, equality thrives. Building sustainable habits leads society. Building sustainable habits leads societies to reconcile with each other and accept equal opportunities. That's when each of the 8 billion people can realize their own potential, create, produce, build new ideas, then begin to develop. So the instinct for survival turns into growth. And as we take care of each other and protect the rights of each individual, we can continue to build a healthy home for all of us. And yeah, this is my vision. This is my vision for 8 billion people. And also, I want to add something. As a Young Innovator Fellow, at UNFPA, we define innovation as doing different things or doing things differently. At this point, I believe we should do things differently. We must develop different methods and different educational strategies in order to reveal the potential that exists in humanity. We must reveal the richness in differences and strength of dialogue as a value. Yeah, and I think only in this way we will become a family of 8 billion who live in a good home. Yeah.
Thank you. It was a very powerful message, I have to say. And I see the reaction on your faces, being the other's other. And your definition of innovation at UNFPA, which is doing things differently, doing different things. Because I was just thinking, when you were saying this, that 8 billion, yes, calls for celebration, but also serious material for us to think about the mental shift, about changing our frameworks, and looking at the challenges and seeing also the opportunities in those. So thank you also for underlining that. Ilayda, what is your response?
Thank you so much, Afshin. Again, this conversation, I'm standing here with 2 wise women. It's really a reminder for me on how much I learned from wise women, as Ilayda was talking about wisdom all the time. But truly, I just want to add a tiny thing, just sharing a memory, because we're talking about a vision that seems impossible at times. Sustainable development, a mental shift, making this vision a reality may seem like an ocean that we can easily drown in, but it's actually quite simple. Just to give this idea, this vision, a face, a story, What I've heard from your remarks, Ilayda, was a pledge to equality for opportunity. I just want to share a quick memory from one of my field projects. I am the co-founder of an NGO named We Need to Talk. We fight against period poverty and menstruation stigma in Turkey. And a few years ago, I was in a field project in rural communities of Sivas, visiting a school, and I met an 11-year-old girl whom I'm changing the name of into Seher in order to hide her identity. Seher's face lit up when she learned that I was a lawyer, and she very excitedly started telling how much she wanted to study law, wanted to be a lawyer or maybe a judge one day, and then immediately she told, oh, but I live here and I go to this school. I would never be able to go to a law school one day. I would never get admitted. Now, pledging to equality of opportunities is actually listening to stories like this and communicating, listening to the stories of these girls who believe at the age of 11 that because of the system, because of the village she was born in, because of the school she goes to, she's already quite behind and she will never be able to fulfill her dreams. Now, it's true that she's quite disadvantaged compared to some of her peers, but we can build a system in which our education systems provide her opportunities to be able to go to law school and be a lawyer or a judge one day. So what I mean is it's not really helpful to tell her, follow your dreams, anything is possible, but actually pledging to build an education system which can make Seher reach her dreams. That is simply the way we can pledge to equality of opportunity. I'm still in touch with Seher, by the way. She's a high school student now, going strong. And I really hope that I will see, law or not, that she will study and she will keep creating impact in her local community. So memories like this actually give faces and stories to beautiful visions that sometimes seem impossible, but are actually quite possible, and we can make it a reality. That's all.
Ilayda, thank you for really putting a face on the numbers and statistics that we've been talking about, and it's girls like Seher, I think. Yeah. I know that's not her real name, but stories such as hers are inspiring as we look to the future. But we should also acknowledge the fact that while women and girls are drivers of change, around the world still, they're denied the fundamental right to make decisions about their own bodies, about their own futures. And in many countries, there's this worrying trend of rollback of progress on women's rights. And we read it in the news, we experience it on a daily basis, and it's something that I do know keeps us quite worried as individuals who care deeply about social justice issues. So, and we also have to note that gender-based violence is still all around the world. It's a global pandemic, and it requires collective action to tackle that too. So my question to you in this final round of our conversation today, what is the way forward? I think here, who wants to go first? Ilayda Eskitaşoğlu, perhaps we can continue with you. What is the way forward to empower girls and women to reach equality in a world of 8 billion?
Yeah. Thank you so much, Afshin. I wished we had hours to talk about it, especially with the crowd we have in this room, but real quick, yes, I truly believe, just like you said, women and girls are the drivers of change. And the way to go forward is to focus beyond the number 8 billion and choose our priorities carefully. For me, I think one of the biggest priorities we need to focus on is to make sure every woman and girl has access to sexual and reproductive rights and health. And truth hurts, I mean, you perfectly summarized, so I won't go through them. But it's important to remember the realities and truths of some women and girls around the world who do not have access to sexual and reproductive health or rights, or the decision-making power over their own bodies. Despite some developments, women are still dying in pregnancy and childbirth. Maternal death is a reality. Forced marriages are a reality. Female genital mutilation is a reality. And yes, I mean, I'm very glad that you've also mentioned gender-based violence, which we call the shadow pandemic. Unfortunately, while everyone was closed in their homes, homes may not be the safest place for a lot of women and girls. So we had to fight with a shadow pandemic at the same time. The feminist spaces for women's organizations are shrinking day by day, which Antonio Guterres calls it our struggle to push back against the pushback. I couldn't agree more. And nearly half of the women and girls living in the world are not able to make decisions about their own bodies. Let me wait while this number sinks in. I'm talking about 50% of women and girls in the world somehow having problems when it comes to access to sexual and reproductive rights and making decisions about their own bodies. This is a huge deal. For the women and girls affected, the most life-altering reproductive decision, I think, is to be pregnant or not, to give birth or not. For a lot of women and girls, this is not a choice at all. But we're talking about human life here. It's easy to say 8 billion. It's easy to look at this purple little 8. But we're not talking about particles of sand on an endless beach. We're talking about human beings and individuals. And we can only value human life truly by providing women the power to make decisions about their own bodies and to make sure that this population grows. But this population grows in a way that newcomers are welcomed through intended, informed, and prepared pregnancies, and to families who are actually able to provide them a quality of life where they can enjoy their rights or fulfill their potentials. Not to families who are shocked or who are unprepared or who are fearful. I think we know that 45% of all abortions performed globally are unsafe. This is again another shocking statistic in my opinion that needs some thought. But what I know is abortion practices will not be stopped no matter what you can do. What you can do is you can provide these services in healthy and sanitary conditions. You can actually support women to make decisions about their bodies. This is what you can do. I myself work on period poverty and menstrual stigma, which is a part of this whole flora of sexual and reproductive health and rights. I pledge to work very hard until every woman and girl, all menstruators, can have access to menstrual products, to the resources they need for menstrual care, including clean water or a clean toilet or toilet paper, and to have access to spaces, safe spaces for honest and open conversations about menstrual experiences, and that no women or girls are shamed for their menstrual experiences or for their bodies. I pledge to work on that. Again, one last thing, the reproductive health and rights of women and girls must be protected no matter what the demographic trend is around us. It's the way to go. It's the way we can ensure thriving this population, this amazing, wonderful, weird family that is growing. And again, my organization's name is We Need to Talk. I know it sounds like this very awkward first sentence of a breakup speech, but this is actually our purpose. We need to be able to dare to talk about issues a few people dare to talk about. So let's talk more. Let's listen to women and girls' stories.
Well, thank you, because someone needs to start the conversation, right?
Exactly.
So you have to just say, hey, we need to talk.
Exactly.
And thank you also for highlighting why it's so important to focus on cultural transformation as well when it comes to getting rid of these stigmas.
Yeah.
It's menstruation, especially, I'm going to talk about Türkiye, in this country, in many rural areas, it's still a traumatic experience for young girls, adolescent girls. So just first starting the conversation and say, this is just natural, this is your body.
Yeah.
I mean, in some parts of the world, even saying my body is still a stigma. So getting, just jumping over those obstacles matters so much. So on my behalf, just thank you for starting the organization too. So we do need to talk, apparently.
Yeah.
İlayda.
Thank you, Ilayda. Your points were very meaningful. and maybe I can add something about cultural transformation, and because I believe that cultural transformation start with the young people. So I believe that raising this awareness among young people and girls also are really important, because although education is possible at any age, I believe that it's much easier to raise awareness at an early age. So young people who adopt sustainable habits can go on to advocate this in their social lives. This way we can encourage individuals to build something, produce together, and we can build a stronger future instead of engaging in a power struggle with each other. In this way we can create individuals who defend equal rights, equal opportunities, and refuse to polarize societies further. So as an example, I have previously engaged in an organization of training girls, young girls aged 14 to 18 to mainstream ecofeminism and sustainable living. And we have opened new habits and horizons for girls from all over Turkey who had never thought about this before. And later, when the participants began the university, they continued and disseminated these advocacy activities in their university life, and by establishing their own social organization and university clubs. And I believe that these kinds of things represents a huge step for all of us.
Ilayda, thank you very much, and thanks to both of you for really outlining for us the link between population, gender equality, bodily autonomy, sexual and reproductive health and rights, and why it matters so much within the context of the world population reaching 8 billion today. Thanks very much. A big applause to both of you. All right, thank you. Well, if you'd like to say that was over, I'm just going to close it, but thank you again for being with us. Now move to the mic over there, and thank you all for listening as well. So, well, I guess I have two mics that are, I heard myself pretty loud. Anyhow, we're getting ready to wrap up our program today, and thanks once again to İlayda Eskitaşçıoğlu and İlayda Işık. I see them in the back room giving each other high fives. Yes, totally deserved. Count me in. High five. Yeah, a very well-deserved high five. Many thanks once again to all of you for being here, not just physically, but with your hearts and minds too. That matters a lot. That is what makes a huge difference. Many thanks to UNFPA Türkiye team. And to the Embassy of the Netherlands in Ankara for hosting us. Since I'm now so proud that my pronunciation was well, I'm just going to repeat once again how gezellig it was to be here. Thank you again. We'll soon say goodbye, but I want to leave you with this pretty thought, which was brought up by previous speakers earlier on in the program. We talked at length about what it means to reach 8 billion today. And like the previous speaker said, when you flip it on its side, sort of like this, it gives you the symbol of infinity, for infinity. That is why the event is titled A World of Infinite Possibilities. That's the thought that we want to leave you with today. And we also invite you all to go beyond the numbers, really, and to keep in mind that 8 billion is 8 billion individuals, 8 billion lives, 8 billion stories, and like İlayda Işık said, 8 billion pillars of creativity. I really like that phrase. I hope she can hear me in the back room now. I do hope that this gathering helped us think more creatively about why it matters to focus on people and not just population. And I hope we realize that we don't need magic to make this happen, but we just need strong, determined, collective action to reach a more equal and just future. I'm Afşin Yurdakul. It was wonderful to be with you today. There will be a recording of this event that will be available on UNFPA's YouTube feed shortly, both in English and in Turkish if you want to rewind and watch if you loved it or if you missed certain parts of it. It will be available soon. And there will be a reception outside. You see those beautiful tables that are set out. And many thanks to the crew out there. They made it's all the effort to make sure that we can continue the conversation outside in the garden after we're done. So see you out there. There's also a photo booth if you want to keep memories of the world population reaching 8 billion. The booth is also available. Thank you very much. We're going to wrap it up here. Goodbye.
İşte buna regl yoksunluğu deniyor. Her gün 800 milyondan fazla kadın regl oluyor ancak milyonlarcası regl yoksunluğuyla mücadele ediyor. Özellikle de mülteciler, göçmenler ve diğer savunmasız gruplar bilgiye ve regl döneminde ihtiyaç duyduğu hijyenik ürünlere erişemediği için regl dönemini güvenli ve sağlıklı bir şekilde geçiremiyor. Regl dönemi 12-13 yaşlarında başlıyor.
Pınar,
Ceren, Emine, Özgecan
Ve daha yüzlercesi.
Türkiye'de 2019 yılında 330
The world's population is
Let's focus on our ultimate goal. We are 8 billion opportunities, 8 billion hopes, 8 billion perspectives.
The global village has become big. For every person on the planet, for decent living, fruitful cooperation is essential. Germany is ready to contribute. We are actively working on sustainable answers to the challenges ahead.
Now we are living in the world of 8 billion people. Yes, it's a huge number and a big challenge to us. However, we can make a better future together with 8 billion ideas and 8 billion corporations.
Finland believes that all the 8 billion people in this planet can live good lives when we invest in education and healthcare, when we ensure access to sexual and reproductive healthcare, and when ensure the sexual and reproductive rights of all individuals. All the 8 billion people in this planet can live good lives when us who work in governments understand and anticipate demographic trends so that we can make good policies and informed decisions based on scientific evidence. We all need to have access to services and we all need the opportunities to live good lives.
Today, there are 8 billion of us here on planet Earth. Although daunting at first, this major milestone is also a reminder to all of us to work tirelessly together to improve education, healthcare, and access to sexual and reproductive rights and health, so that each and every one of us can have a good quality of life. And here, Denmark is obviously fully committed to work with international partners to achieve just that.
As we reach a population of 8 billion people on planet Earth, many things come to mind that are so essential to us with regards to the quality of life and happiness of these individuals. But one that is so important for all of us is the sexual and reproductive rights of women. These rights are often under threat, and we should all work to defend them at all costs.
For every one of these 8 billion, including the world's largest ever cohort of young people, it is critical that we invest in their health and education. We also need to ensure that everyone is able to realise their right to quality sexual and reproductive services. Australia is proud to be a long-standing supporter of UNFPA's critical work across the world.
Everybody has the right to choose when it comes to relationships, sex and family planning, especially women and girls. And to promote this freedom of choice, the Netherlands, all over the world, works together with UNFPA, including in Turkey.
İnsanoğlu için ihtimale sonsuzdur. Daha iyi bir gelecek için güçlerimizi birleştirelim.
Cevaplayayım mı? Ha, cevaplamadın mı?